Hey everybody. So it's been a while since my last video. Today I'm going to be talking about another missing boy that was most likely abducted from the Des Moines, Iowa area. This case is kind of mixed in with one or two other ones. I'm just going to do the one today, mention maybe the others. Where they think, well, maybe it is related together. But let's get through this. So today I'm going to be talking about Eugene Wade Martin. Like I said, he is from Des Moines, Iowa. He was missing since the 12th of August, 1984. He was born August 17th, 1970. The investigating agency will be the Des Moines Police Department. He had brown hair, brown eyes. He weighed about 100 pounds, 5 foot tall back then. Okay, so this is, like I said, there's one other case that's a lot like this one, that happened before this, about a year or two. I want to say 2 years it was. And he was a paper boy back then. People actually give you the paper and delivered it right to your home. So he was a newspaper boy. He was up early. This happened to be a Sunday, I believe. It was possibly the first time that he had gone alone. He would go with his stepbrother, the other times, but his stepbrother wasn't with him this time. So let's get into the story. I'll read you and comment along the way if I need to. On the morning of August 12, 1984, in the town of Des Moines, Iowa, it was a quiet Sunday summer morning. The streets were empty except for Martin, who was a 13-year-old at the time. He was polite, shy, diligent worker, doing his route. He was doing it for, he began a few months earlier, and his goal was to save money for the upcoming state fair. On August 12, 1984, Eugene got up at 4:30 and left the house about 5 a.m. Between 5:45 and 6:05, he collected his newspapers from a designated corner. He was seen folding papers and talking to a man on the corner only a few blocks from his house. He was wearing blue jeans, a red shirt, and a gray pullover. Witnesses said they saw Martin talking to a clean-cut white male in his 30s sometime between 5 and 5:45 a.m. on the southwest 12th Street and Highview intersections. Some stated the two appeared to be engaged in a friendly father-son sort of conversation. On almost all of the reports that I read, it was in quotations of father-son, so I don't know what that means. Does it mean like that they were speaking as if they knew each other? I don't know, but it's father-son sort of conversation. And others recalled seeing the teen folding papers and talking to a man sometime between 5:45 and 6:05. When the customers began to report that they had not gotten their morning papers, the manager went out to figure out what was going on with Eugene, and he found his bag. Between 6:10 and 6:15, when Eugene's bag was found on the ground, it still had 10 folded papers in it. He had just vanished without a trace. His family, alerted only hours later, joined law enforcement in an immediate search. Officers, FBI agents, and volunteers scoured the neighborhoods, parks, riverbanks, and warehouse. Flyers were posted. Every corner watched. Yet, he still remained nowhere to be found. The Martin family was steadfast and hopeful, and they really hung on to prolonged vigils by the phone, believing that a call or sighting would come. Birthday celebrations for the young boy were postponed, replaced with anxious waiting and prayer. The community rallied around. There were rewards offered, and his image was plastered all over the place, as far as even on newspapers, and on milk cartons. So it would get a greater reach now. The newspaper boy that was abducted, missing, same kind of thing, I believe he was the first one where they started putting pictures of missing kids in milk cartons, which is, I totally remember that happening back in the day. They'd have one or two pictures, small pictures, when milk was in paper cartons. So that I do remember. And I think the boy that was abducted 2 years earlier is the one that kind of started that campaign on how can we get pictures and other things to the public quicker than news. I mean, back in those days, news, there was obviously no internet. Even newspapers, you would have needed to get on the news or a nightly news. But other than that these two cases kind of started people trying to figure out how can we get information out quicker on these teens, because this is starting to be a problem. Years of searching, interviews, and tips would fail to figure out this mystery surrounding his fate. Authorities said that they were treating the case as a kidnapping and did issue a nationwide bulletin for a man described as between 30 and 40 years old, 5'9", clean-shaven with medium build. Just reading that kind of is just like, oh, okay, so they put a nationwide bulletin on the person. Why did they do the same for children? I don't know if that was something they did back then yet. Time passed, seasons changed. Eugene's parents aged, and eventually, unfortunately, they have passed away without knowing what happened to their son. They were holding out hope to the end. I believe that at least one brother is kind of heading up the case now and tries to make sure people are still looking and his case is out there. This is now from Eugene's aunt, his dad's sister. After losing the youngest son, Jeannie McDowell said her brother Don Martin became withdrawal and spent all of his time trying to find out what happened to Eugene. Eugene was his baby. When he left, it killed my brother, she said. Her brother went into his own little shell and didn't want to speak to anybody. Still, day after day, he would read every newspaper, cut out any clippings on anything that had to do with Gene. As he approached his 65th birthday in October of 2010, Don Martin struggled with cancer, unfortunately. He also was in the final stages of Alzheimer's. Gene's mother, Janice, had recently died from diabetes without ever knowing what happened to her son. So both of the parents died not knowing. hoping that something would come about someday. Des Moines police promptly treated this as a non-family abduction, suspecting that the unidentified man had persuaded Gene to leave his route. The man had never been identified. Massive search efforts were conducted locally, and following tips that went into Mexico and Canada, but no credible evidence was ever found. Authorities suspect a possible connection, and here's this other case, to the 1982 abduction of Johnny Gosch. Gosch. I was going to look that up. Another Iowa paper boy. They were never supposedly definitively linked together, but everybody had thought, because of the circumstances around it, that they were. Several investigative initiatives emerged in the wake of Eugene's disappearance. His case contributed to the pioneering of the Missing Children milk carton program, where children's photos and brief details were printed on the milk cartons to raise public awareness. The approach was later phased out, influenced more effective child abduction alerts systems, and today we have Amber Alerts. I can't even remember when milk started coming in plastic where they couldn't do that anymore, and I probably would suspect that's why they did that. The Des Moines Police Department continues to maintain the case as open and active, with any potential leads being investigated as they arise. There's some personal information. At the time of the disappearance, he was 5'10" and weighed about 110 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. He had a scar on his right knee, a healed wrist fracture, and might have used the nickname Gene. On the day he disappeared, he wore a gray and white striped t-shirt with red sleeves, blue jeans, and blue track sneakers with diagonal stripes. Eugene enjoyed football, fishing, watching TV, and playing video games, which, yeah, that's the 80s. Were there any persons of interest, which I haven't read every newspaper article, but it's kind of funny that nothing really came of it. I would have thought that because of so many people that saw him on the corner with somebody, I would have thought that they would have had something, a sketch made. It's just weird that that didn't happen. Okay, so persons of interest and leads. Law enforcement tracked numerous tips in the immediate aftermath of his disappearance. One report suggested a man had been seen with a boy appearing battered and beaten in a car near Des Moines that Sunday evening, though it was never confirmed to be Eugene. While a few other men were questioned during the investigation, including local individuals with possible connections to criminal activity or suspected involvement with child exploitations, no suspect was ever officially charged with his disappearance. High-profile investigator also considered the possibility of a larger pattern, noting that Gene, John, and later Mark Allen all disappeared in the area under similar circumstances in the 80s. No conclusive evidence has ever been established to the state that there may have been a serial predator around. But there were the 3 boys. The 2 were paper boys, and the one was going to a friend's house when he disappeared, I believe. The continued status is, decades later, this case does remain open. Authorities continue to consider tips and follow leads as they arise, but no known suspects have ever been confirmed. Eugene's abductor has not been identified. The case remains one of Iowa's long-standing unsolved mysteries with child cases, emphasizing the challenges of investigating child abductions from that era. And it was tough. Because back in those days, if there was a kid missing, honestly, they really didn't do anything about it. Because, like back in the, and this is just from my memory, in the mid to late 70s and 80s, if there was a kid missing, they would just say, hey, guess what? Ran away. Call us, in a couple days, he'll be home. If not, call us back, whatever. So, it's strange for that would have occurred. That's just how the police were. It's weird because, parents know their kids. Do they know everything? No. But certain kids is just like, yeah, absolutely, he did not run away. So, And today now we think about it and it's like, the sooner they have their information and they can get out, the better it is. In summary, while there was a primary person of interest described as a 30 to 40-year-old white man with a medium build and clean-cut appearance, no suspects were ever formally charged and the case remains open. I know that there were newspapers reports about, on that day, a matter of fact, so I don't think that there was much afterwards, but I'm surprised there wasn't a sketch made if so many people seen this person. And the age of this person, 30 to 40 years old, I would have, this is just me thinking, that this isn't a first time for this guy anyway. But, okay, well, let's move on to more stats. Federal agents said at that time there might be a definite connection in the disappearance with the 12-year-old Johnny, who disappeared 2 years earlier on September 5th, 1982, and described the suspect as a loner. At one time, a $94,000 reward was offered, including $25,000 from the Des Moines Register for information leading to the recovery of either one of these boys. It, too, eventually went by the wayside as weeks turned into months and then into years with no viable leads. Eugene's aunt, Jeannie McDowell, said she believes the cases are connected, and I've seen a documentary, I think, I don't know if it was on Netflix or what, but I remember seeing documentaries on the Johnny Gosch. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering that name. There are documentaries out there on him, and they are, just the little bit that I read on this case, they do seem very related. Very. The aunt went on to say she believes they are connected, and she shudders to think what these teens had to go through. She also said she does not think Eugene was still alive, and I don't know when this date was that she said that, and hoped that he did die instantly and that he didn't have to suffer too much. Which, yeah, I can see that. James Rowley, a retired Des Moines police detective who worked the Martin case until his retirement in 2001, also recognizes similarities to the cases, but still has questions about how they were linked. Why was there a 2-year gap? That is, well, I mean, I don't know. You think about the other thing in 1982 and 84 is that there are no databases that you can just go on a computer and put in, newspaper boy abducted, that when you get back that information, it could be, tell you, oh, well, there's a missing boy from this state or that state, or a different part of the state. Did this guy get arrested for some reason in between? You just don't know. And that detective stated that back in 2009. Rowley, who worked more than 200 homicides and 50 bank robberies during his tenure, helping solve 80% of his cases, believes the clean-cut man near Martin's home talked him into leaving his route. Nearly 30 years later, the former detective still seems amazed that they have never had a solid lead in this case. And I kind of agree. It's really weird because I want to say there were 6 people or more that saw and gave some kind of testimony, report, whatever, about seeing him on that corner. And I can't, I mean, that's August, so the sun is up. I don't know how the lighting is there, but you'd think somebody, if they could make out the details that was Eugene, you think they would have noticed the man, even if it's just basic. More than, oh, he was between 30 and 40. But this detective Rowley said there were no bones, no fragments, no evidence. Rowley said he takes the case very personal and will leave Eugene's poster in his garage until he is found or the case is solved. Johnny, another paper boy who mysteriously vanished in the same area, likely Johnny and Jean had set out early, alone, to deliver papers. Both of them. Both spoke to unknown men mere moments before they disappeared, leaving behind their abandoned newspapers. The patterns whispered the shadow of, you would think that there was some kind of connection between these two cases because they're very similar. Speculation ran rampant. Had he run away, lured by thrills of an adventure, or was he really abducted in a carefully obstructed crime, perhaps connected to Johnny and other boys in the area? Like I said, back then, there's not going to be, you can't just go on a computer and put in there that your things, to put the details of each of these cases to pull you back and say, oh, well, there's another case over in this part of town or over here or there. I don't even know if precincts talked among precincts back then. I don't know how they actually worked cases. I mean, now you watch TV and like the first 48, you see like there's a main detective on that case, but other people are also that are in that precinct division or however you want to say it. They're helping each other out. So it's you got to wonder if there were other precincts. Did they know what was going on and were they involved in this? I would assume that there were at least two precincts. These two cases were in Des Moines. How far apart, I don't know, but I have to wonder if there were two precincts involved in this. That I don't know yet. Each theory bore its own weight, yet no lead to a resolution. The unknown man, the green car spotted that morning, the whispered rumors all became pieces of a puzzle that never fully assembled. And that was the other thing, that there was a car. There was a car. And yet they still, it's just crazy. And then after that, another 2 years, which is kind of weird, another Des Moines teen, 13-year-old Mark James Warren Allen, did in fact disappear from Des Moines in 1986. On March 29th, Allen told his mother he planned to walk to a friend's house down the street, but he never got there. I don't know any of the facts on that case yet. I was going to look in them. To kind of to get a gist of time and if there were any witnesses or whatnot. But it is weird that they're all 2 years apart. And two of them, I mean, like I said, I don't know. Maybe this other boy was a newspaper boy, he just wasn't on his route at the time. I don't know. But if you're trying to be an abductor, I guess, getting up on Sunday mornings when, and I'm just assuming it's the same thing, that I know back in my day, the Sunday morning paper was delivered really, really early in the morning. I think they had to be delivered by 6 a.m. I know that there was a time limit. I would assume that it's the same thing today. But, well, no, today I don't think there are newspaper boys anymore. I think you just go to the store or have it delivered. Where I live, it was delivered a rural route where a car dropped it off into the mailbox, and then after that it went just through the post office, and it came through like the mail. So, but I live in a small town too, so I mean, if somebody's living in a bigger town, I highly doubt that would work out, but who knows? I don't know. It could. So that is the case on Gene. It just makes me so sad. I do remember the Johnny Gosch case, and when I seen this case, and knowing about the milk cartons, that's why I wanted to put this one up here. His parents had passed. Like I said, I think his brother heads this up, trying to keep it going. Obviously he's gone now. Parents are gone. But the thing is he has siblings. I'm sure those kids have kids. And, as I've said in every missing case, I think, that I've done so far, it's like, it's been so long. No matter if his parents are around or not, everybody wants the case solved. They want a resolution to this, whether the killer is dead or not. It would be nice to gather him so he can be laid to rest properly by his family. It's kind of, I mean, it's just not kids. I mean, adults too that are missing and murdered, and these murders, they know that they are holding control if they don't say where these people are. They know they got control. That they control everything by holding back and not giving up possibly where these bodies, what happened to them. Man, I look at this Eugene kid and he just looks like a good kid. Which I'll scatter throughout, as I always do. I make my videos and kind of put everything together later on. He's just a smart looking kid. I just feel really bad for all these cases I read, because whether the families are around or not, somebody wants to know. I want to know what happened to him. I mean, in '84, I was in high school, so I mean, I was high school age, let's just say that. I know missing kids, but probably was not on my mind. Like I said, cases like this, if you didn't live in their towns, the likelihood of you hearing about something, I really don't think you would have unless it made the nightly news. So yeah, again, as I've said in all my videos, if you have any information, anything, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat right now where, if you know things and you're wondering, well, I wonder if I should say something. Yeah, you should, because you don't know what the police know, what's in their files. If you know something, just say something. Do it anonymously. Let's try and like and share this video and get it out. Let's try and find Johnny, Mark Allen. The list goes on of missing children. When I go and look for, I'm to the point now where I can't decide on who I want to do, so I will go up on AI and just say, give me a random kid's name. And that's how I happen to get this, because there are so many missing kids everywhere that I wish I could do them all at once, but I can't. There are just so many. The other thing is when I'm trying to look for things, is a lot of them have to do with, and I'm not sure if I want to do it, they have to do with parental, whether they were married, divorced, someone didn't get custody or whatever. It seems like a lot of missing kids went with, they're thought to have gone with the other parent, and it's more of a family thing. And obviously I'm not going to find a lot of information there, and not that I don't want to, and maybe I will. I really have to read up on them, but it's going to be hard to research things like that if it's a dispute between parents. I mean, they deserve to be home too. I mean, just because they're with one parent doesn't mean that they should be lost. But I sometimes I don't know if I want to go down that road and get into that, into those cases. So, like I said, I kind of randomly choose things. I started this out with people in Wisconsin. I'll do, like I said, I'm now just saying, hey, choose a name for me. So if you know of a case, or you want a case to be in, on the internet to spread, leave it in the comments. I mean, everybody deserves to be found. If there's something mysterious that I can look into, and that'll be fine. I would be willing to look into it if anyone has any suggestions. Until then, I have several things that I'm doing, not just missing people. Like I have some fun videos coming up where families can do things together. Because I like to travel and go to weird places. You know, off the beaten path type things that you don't see advertised a lot on the internet, or you know, just weird things you really don't see advertised anywhere. That's kind of where I want to delve in, so because that's my thing. So I have a few places of some not so dark things. I need to lighten things up. Sometimes gotta take a breath from all the evil that people do with these kids. I can't. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and share. Just share. Let's get these, we got to get these kids' cases out there. They're older cases, and it would be nice to have a resolution. Help somebody. Pay it forward. Let's help somebody out. Let's do it. Okay, so I will see you in the next video. Bye.